Coffee stain badge on a lanyard string. Hotel ballroom, buzzing, fluorescent wings. Name tags, crooked inside jokes. We live on acronyms and conference notes. Late night panels, early flights, still swapping war stories under dim lights. If the world goes sideways, who they gonna call? The weirdos taking roll in the expo hall. IAEM Talks tonight. Yeah, we laugh so we don't lose our minds. Blue sky stage to the worst headline. We're the ones still on the run. IAEM Talks tonight.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine country. And today, my friend Michael Prasad here with me, who is the president of IAEM Region 2. And as you can see, we both have a Navy cap on because it is Fleet Week here. Memorial Day weekend is up, and we are celebrating those who gave it all for the United States. And I want to thank everybody who served in the service, and those, just to remember, take a day between your celebration and weekend just to remember those who lost their lives serving this nation. That's what this holiday weekend is all about. But I am wearing the cap of the ship that I was on as pretty much a passenger. I was not part of ship's company. I was a corpsman assigned with the Marines, and this is our transport ship, and the USS Cleveland, which is no longer in service. And that's the cap I'm wearing. And Mike, you are wearing?
Yeah, Todd, thank you again. And I'm wearing a cap from the USS New Jersey battleship that is also out of service, but it is currently a museum berthed off of the shore of Camden near the aquarium. So it's a New Jersey historical site. And I am honored to honor the folks that served in all branches of the military. I did not serve. I just want to be clear about that. I'm going to take the hat off in a second. But Todd, thank you for your service to our great nation. You get to wear that hat as long as you damn want to.
It's my pleasure. And yeah, if I take my hat off, I don't really have bad hair, so I don't want to.
I'm not going to worry about the hair thing. So
the hair I have left, I should say, as we go through this. Mike, so a couple of things, and I know I talked to Region 1 last event that we did, and the question that I asked Claire was, or Chelsea, was what made you decide to run for IAEM-USA president, Region 2 president?
Oh, great question. So I was vice president beforehand. Sort of the history of it is that prior president, past president, I should say, Anthony Mangieri, had Sarah Moore as vice president. Sarah won the position of secretary a few years back, so she had to vacate the office of vice president. He had the opportunity. He said, Mike, I know you're active. At the time, I was active with Children in Disaster Caucus. I was the chair. So we we kind of knew that I had an interest in sort of the administration, the bureaucracy of the association. So I took a leap, became vice president, did that for I think I was elected 2 terms. I'd have to look back and see what it was. So this is a couple of years back. And then Anthony termed out, and so I ran for president then. Fully knowing Anthony had actually invited me a couple of times to attend full board meetings. We'll talk about that a little bit. And I think you talked about that with Chelsea as well, too, about how board presidents, this sort of leadership role is a double-sided coin. You're representing the region for a lot of regional stuff, but then you're also a national board member. So you have national priorities, national responsibilities. I have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization as a whole, and that represents the entire organization, not just the area that I cover.
Absolutely, and it's sometimes can get confusing especially the membership and what it means. And I know that when I was regional president, I really tried to represent the region and balance between what our responsibilities are for the USA. And speaking about the regions, what is the current state of emergency management in Region 2?
Yeah, great question. So let's look at the country, right? 10 regions. We match our regions the same as what FEMA does. So if you ever want to look at a FEMA map, it's the same type of thing. So there's approximately, and this is, I'm a numbers guy, so there's a bit of numbers here. 330 million people in the United States. There are 33 million. So literally a tenth, right? We have 10 regions. We have a tenth of the population. We have 4 governor-led jurisdictions, 8 sovereign tribal nations in that. So it's actually 12 things that I cover. Plus, I imagine New York City, a lot like Los Angeles in your area, should be probably considered as an equitable partner and collaborator as well. But I got to tell you, things are very different in each of these. Navigating the subtleties takes focus, determination, and dedication. We've got the Yankees and the Giants. Plus, we've got the home of Bad Bunny and 2 former Dutch colonial territories. By the way, over 16,000 Americans live on those 8 tribal lands and about 118 total square miles. Some of those tribes are less than a mile in size, but in total, they're about 3 times the size of Buffalo, New York. That's for you, Todd. So, now, emergency management is very different in each of those. We could spend this whole episode talking about that question alone. Now, I like to think of myself as an expert on the Jersey model, having worked in and around it for about 20 years. We're one of 2 states, only 2 states, where the state's Office of Emergency Management is part of the state police. So full disclosure, just like I'm not a member of the armed services, I'm nowhere near being a law enforcement official myself. But I do get to work with some of the finest, smartest, and most keenly aware of the threats and hazards that we have, the state troopers and Homeland Security professionals in the state of New Jersey. They're some of the best in the country. I'll be candid that I'm in constant learning process about the other jurisdictions, and I rely heavily on my regional executive team to help me navigate uncharted territory.
It is amazing to see like the different models that each state has.
They're really very different. And if you really want to go to the science of it, we have Dillon's law and home rule states. And of course, the territories, it's totally, completely different. Same with the tribes. Tribal council, for example, can do something completely different than a governor does. Right.
So as a regional president, I mean, you're really balancing between all the different states, all the different jurisdictions, all the different, rules that are out there to try to really represent everybody within your region. And I think that's, some of the challenges actually as being a regional president, which is and I also, some of the nice part about being a regional president, because you get to see all these different things. So that being said, what are your leadership priorities and regional initiatives that you're focusing specifically on Region 2?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been blessed, really. I guess the best way to describe it, it's been an ongoing success story as to the leadership priorities for regional initiatives that you just mentioned. As I said, Anthony Mangieri started something with Region 2 President more than 6 years ago. Our region's members run the full gamut of government levels. We have private and public organization EMs as well too. We do collaborate with both the New York and New Jersey State Emergency Management Associations. We're also in discussions with what's called PREM-B and VITEMA. Those are the 2 state level emergency organizations. They're the actual government side. We're involved already with the nonprofit sort of non-governmental side of the association. So NJEMA and NYSEMA has a group as well too. Those 2 are basically county and municipal emergency managers getting together. We work with them very closely, and I'm just starting to open the doors for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, as well as starting to introduce ourselves to the 8 tribal nations. We have started and made some inroads with the St. Regis Mohawk tribe. It's near the Upper New York area, I guess is the West Bay. I want to say it's actually half of it's in Canada, so it's an interesting thing. It's it's near Paul Smith's if you're in the area. So
I was actually going to bring up Paul Smith's really quick after this, but we'll get into that in a second.
Okay, but, we run a biannual conference. Last year was at Paul Smith's College, just so FYI, and then next one in 2027 will be at Rowan University in Southern New Jersey. We also host a number of webinars for members, as well as quarterly virtual meetings and a newsletter. And by the way, we're profoundly involved with the active IAEM-USA student chapters that we have in our brick and mortar colleges within the region. We offer, as an association, as a region, we offer 4 scholarships, one for each of the jurisdictions, the major ones that we have, if there's takers. And then we also, that covers, by the way, 100% of the student registration costs for the National IAEM-USA Conference.
It's awesome. I was going to get into the membership engagement, professional growth, but you sort of answered that question already. But I'd like to take this opportunity to have you talk about the conference that you had up at Paul Smith's. And side note, I wanted to go there. That was a college I wanted to go to. Is that my goal in life before I fell into what I do now is I thought I wanted to be I thought I wanted to be a wildlife biologist major, and then I wanted to be an NCON officer for the state of New York. That was my
okay.
That was my goal.
Paul Smith's College is nestled in the middle of nowhere.
Beautiful Adirondacks.
Beautiful Adirondack mountains. By the way, it is a hop, skip, and a jump to Lake Placid. So if people think about Lake Placid, it's still going on, by the way. You can still do ski jumping and all kinds of crazy stuff there at Lake Placid. But that facility, it's trees, all that kind of stuff up there. There's a beautiful hotel. We were, going back and forth between the college site and the college is actually on a lake. So it's like when they finish their classes, they just hang out by a lake. It's amazing. But there was a lot of initiatives there that were sort of done nationally. I think the easiest thing is for any of the members to take a look. We have some conference notes and stuff like that over at IAEM Connect towards it. We had everything from local programs. There's a club there. There's an IAEM student chapter there. They were actively involved in helping us organize things as well too. Plus, we had it's a good location to meet with effectively a lot of the New York State folks that don't get it down to New York City. So the Hudson Valley, that area, even as far as Buffalo or whatever else, kind of a thing. That upper New York area is not really one to want to go into New York City for a conference or a meeting. So I think this was a good choice. 2 years before that, we were out on Long Island. So same kind of thing. It's just a different audience. We're trying to stay away from, we do a lot of socials and other types of work in and around the New York City area. But I think the idea that we're just going to switch potentially, again, it's an every other year conference, but switch potentially between New York and New Jersey state-wise, I think that's the model that we're looking at. And again, this I'm really hoping to partner closely with the New Jersey Emergency Management Association on this. This is not the same as the EPA conference that occurs every year in Atlantic City. So this is a much more educational. There's not really huge vendor shows, and it doesn't really compete. It with our national conference or any of the other sort of national hurricane or other types of things, it is very much an opportunity, especially for smaller groups, smaller folks who want to get an educational and the networking, of course, on a more regional basis than a national level.
I had an opportunity to go to one of the New York mixers when I was in the city. We were in Hell's Kitchen.
Great.
Yeah, and it was awesome. It was great to meet with a lot of the New York, my New York family, as I will say, and it was awesome. So I really highly recommend the regional presidents to take that model and to be able to do mixers and things like this, because it does really show what we it brings us together, and I thought it was great. And kind of leading into this, when you're meeting with your team, when you're meeting with the members of IAEM and your region, do you think about like how we can use those type of events for advocacy and public policy discussion, and to really push this out towards our elected officials? Mike, you and I went knocking on doors of Congress last year. We got to talk to the Virgin Islands. We talked to we talked to a lot of different groups. It was a really great experience. How does that work, and how do you encourage your members in the region to do the same?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. We just had our regional quarterly meeting, and I brought up the Hill Day for Congress, and we actually had some takers, people interested in coming with us on the next round that we go. So it's a two-way street. I think I'm pretty well in tune with what sort of the regional needs are that need to be expressed up to our congressional representatives at a national level. And most of those are the same, by the way, as funding stream issues, grants, what's the status of NDEMU, all those types of questions and issues, are pretty standard, I think, across the country. But we certainly have a ton of them when it comes to some of the specifics. For example, if somebody's threatening gateway funding, which is a new tunnel to be built between New Jersey and New York State, that is top of mind to New York and New Jersey politicians because it's economic growth, economic development. But I got to tell you, it should also be top of mind to emergency management officials, because if you're looking at evacuating out of New York City, you need multiple ways of doing this. Mm-hmm. And right now, there's really, it's either tunnels or bridges. That's the only way to get off the island, so to speak, of Manhattan. So there are a lot of nuances that are not really talked about a lot, but the idea is that this is a long-term project, but it's going to help in the event something really bad were to happen to, a very large population with high risks and high threats. So we don't talk about that kind of stuff daily, but certainly I understand it, and I think our members express it. We have members from the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. We have members from New York City OEM. Those types of things get expressed as sort of national needs that the IAEM can help with. So the other thing too is that I think you covered this with your conversation, and I encourage folks to look back at the prior podcast episode with Region 1's President Chelsea St. George. We talked about this too. The role of the regional president is twofold. We lead our region downward to our constituents, but we also lead upward in the strategic direction of the association as a whole, as national board members. Now, people may not know, but when we meet and make decisions as a board, we're like 15 equals. It's not like a president and his cabinet. So I have a lot of strong beliefs myself about emergency management advocacy and public policy, things that will be changes for the good of the American public as a whole, and I get a chance to do that. And I think the membership backs me on that in many ways, but I think also I listen, obviously, to what their needs are too. I did, as I said, enjoyed our Hill Day. You and I and Eric Gall got a chance to connect. As I said, you mentioned Virgin Islands, but we also met with reps from New York and New Jersey Senate staffers, and then both Puerto Rico staffers and as you said, the Virgin Islands. I also got to briefly meet with Representative Pablo Hernandez of Puerto Rico to express the value of our association to everyone in the U.S. I think it's fair to say that Region 2 epitomizes the equity of both the adverse impacts from disasters themselves that could happen. And that's one of the reasons why both the USVI and Puerto Rico are in Region 2, and it's emergency management's role to support everyone everywhere. I also think I hope I'm pretty involved in shaping and promoting our association's overall advocacy and public policy at the national level. And by the way, much of the credit for that goes to you and Josh Morton and Carrie Speranza, who really ramped up our visibility as a national organization last year. Members only need to search for my name on IAEM Connect or in the bulletins to see my own views on advocacy or public health policy. This is another one of those questions where we could spend an hour just talking about this.
Absolutely. And the reason why I brought up the Virgin Islands is I don't think many people, I think most people understand in emergency management, and especially, understands the regions that because Puerto Rico has issues regarding, Hurricane Maria and whatnot. But to forget that the Virgin Islands are actually part of Region 2 is pretty interesting.
Yeah, three separate islands, and what happens, I spend a little bit of my time, one of my other hats as a volunteer, I work with the Red Cross, volunteer with the Red Cross, I should say, but I support FEMA Region 2. So I get right into when the hurricanes are coming, whether it's Maria or Hugo, this, that, and so forth. There are steps and checklist things that they do that goes from Puerto Rico to the Virgin Islands. I mean, literally what they do is they send a cargo carrier thing, I forgot what they call it, of generators from Puerto Rico to the Virgin Islands ahead of the storm coming, and they're constantly looking at port conditions and other types of things all together, because whether or not the port's open in Virgin Islands may be unrelated to whether the port's open in Puerto Rico. But right. If you don't have the port open and the airport's closed, that's kind of how it is. There's no bridge to the Virgin Islands from anywhere. So it's a very interesting challenge to look at all the sort of what ifs that they do towards that.
We can get into something here in a minute, but I don't want to diverse. Well, I think I want everybody to do a little homework and look up the shipping laws of the United States, and it really complicates some of the issues that we have with getting equipment to the Virgin Islands and to Puerto Rico. So
I would agree with that, and focus on what's called the Jones Act.
Jones Act, yes.
It is a very interesting question, and it's a political one, and I'm not trying to get into the politics, but it is the decision of the president to suspend the Jones Act. I don't think Congress does it. I could be wrong on that, but basically it's a governmental thing. But the point being is that just like presidential declarations, how that goes, who that goes for, what disaster it is, very much not codified as this will happen. It's codified as this can happen.
Right.
So it's a huge thing. It's, this is very similar to like really looking at the depth of what happens when a public health emergency is invoked, right? It means a lot of things about liability insurance and who can do what. But yeah, you're right. The shipping stuff is really, and this is the same for our folks that have the other territories on the other side over there in Samoa and Marianas and Guam.
Twice.
Yeah, and right now I don't know. I'd have to look up to see if Jones Act was the current super typhoon that's hitting over there in Marianas. I don't know what's happening with that. I do know that that there are organizations that are supporting that, including having a presidential emergency declaration, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just interesting, some of the stuff that you have to think about, and what we have to advocate, and with the conversations that we have at the national level.
Yes.
And this is why IAEM is so important, to be able to knock on those doors. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I think people should get involved and join our organization is so we have strength in numbers when it comes to talking to our elected officials.
Sure.
We can get into the emerging threats and disaster, and you talked about that a little bit, as well. But I want to move on to the next, is build the next generation of emergency managers. I know that you guys have a great, you just talked about the student chapters that you have. I want to brag a little bit here. I have a certificate of appreciation that was given to me by the Long Beach student chapter. I'll put that up there so you guys can see it. And they put a wonderful symposium on. It was like 6 of us as speakers. We had about 50 some odd participants in that. It was a wonderful day, and it really just shows what a student chapter can do. And I'm not here to talk about Long Beach chapter, but I want to hear what you guys are doing.
Well, we have I think the board just approved a chapter in New York State, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting which school it is. I'll put it in the show notes or give it to you. So we're 3 or 4 that we have active, and just FYI to folks out there, we are constantly working on refining the student chapter process. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I will say that it's got the microscope of a number of national board members. Regional presidents are looking at this, as well as the association as a whole. So we value the student members, and I think everybody from every regional president would agree. I think they would agree with me. The pipeline concept of someone getting out of high school and wanting to become an emergency manager is something we have to manage. We have to help finesse. We have to mentor. We have to support, engage, at all that kind of stuff. Part of this is a consistent focus on academia and how it's working through its programs. So stay tuned. But a couple of things from me. I'll be speaking at at Arkansas Tech University's Emergency Management and Homeland Security Colloquium. This is a virtual one, June 3rd of 2026. And I don't know if there'll be a recording or not of that made. If so, I can certainly add it to the notes so that people can see it in the future. But the focus that I'm going to be covering is the student chapters. So I'm going to be talking about IAEM-USA student chapters at American universities, higher educations, and so forth. Dr. Jennifer Carlson and I have been having a conversation on this topic. It's actually, she and I are going to be presenting as well at the conference, talking about the idea of accreditation for universities, and the group called CAMSHE that does that. But we've been having this sort of dialogue back and forth between her and I on professionalism that's been occurring over at the Journal of Emergency Management. And it's going to reiterate our view, meaning the association view, of the importance of the CEM, the Certified Emergency Management Credential, which ties into an undergraduate degree in the U.S. Our current commitment to the current model is to go through, having an undergraduate degree to get the CEM. And by the way, this is something that we're working through on our own. I don't know that we're necessarily waiting for FEMA to come out with any kind of guidance on this. They have a number of issues and things that they're dealing with. But we're, IAEM is focused. We're focused on the emergency manager, and whether that's the aspiring one, the new one, the just out of college one, the one still in college, doesn't matter. But part of this does tie back to government. There's a Department of Labor standard occupation classification code. This is what drives, by the way, all those monster.com, workday.com, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to plug one thing over another. But if you've ever been in a position where you've been looking for an emergency management job and then gotten inundated with emergency medicine jobs or continuity of operations jobs or IT emergency management jobs, this is because there's only one SOC code, and that's for an emergency management director. Now, I talked about this in the bulletin, the IAEM-USA bulletin, so short piece on there, and if you really want the longer piece, you can look in GEM. It's coming out soon. I just don't know the publication date for that.
Well, it's important to write and to keep those things going forward. Obviously, you and I both are write a lot about emergency management.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical for everybody to participate and to really push what we're doing, because we need a body of knowledge, number one. Right. So I'm excited about that. And so I want to kind of still build on this is in California, we did not have a bachelor's degree in emergency management. We had a community college, one community college that was offering a degree in emergency management, an associate degree, GAP, and then we had Cal State Long Beach, who offers the master's in emergency management. Now, this year, 2 colleges have created a bachelor's degree. 2 state colleges have created a bachelor's degree in emergency management. Moreno Valley has one now, and San Diego, I forget which school in San Diego created one. I just learned about this the other day, which is good. And I'm seeing, and then of course the University of Albany, SUNY Albany, has a great program that not just the bachelor's degree, but also the research that they're doing. How is this helping building the next generation of emergency managers, and how can IAEM support that?
Oh, I think it's critical for the next level. You've got a couple of things, and IAEM can support it, and I'll go into that in a second. But the idea that we're on top of it, we have an understanding, that's where the student chapters come into play. It's a two-way street. Not only is it students coming in and getting connected with us and all of our networking and all the caucuses and committees. By the way, a student member gets the same rights and privileges to sit on a caucus and a committee as I keep saying as an adult member, as a general member. So there isn't a differential. There isn't like I'm on the K through 12 caucus or the healthcare caucus, and you're a student member, we don't really care what you have to say. No, it's like, please, let's hear whatever it is. So it's, again, a two-way street. The other side of that is that we get to learn about their programs. We get to learn about what's happening at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. We get to know about what's happening at Rowan University or at Paul Smith's College or at any of the other schools that are offering EM programs, Western Kentucky University. The thing runs nationally, but the idea is that we also potentially have some influence. Hey, you know what? Why don't you guys think about a course on this? Why don't you think about a course on that? It lines up with what we want to have for the CEM credentialing, continuing education criteria. That we're working on as well too, sort of giving some baselines. Maybe we want something on NIMS ICS, but then again, maybe we want something on recovery or mitigation, or floodplain management. I don't know. I don't think it has to be that necessarily specific, but I think the idea that you're looking at ethics, you're looking at totality of the response cycle and how it's not just during. You're looking at continuity. You're also looking, just a number of things that are commonalities that we just need to make sure that are checkboxed off. I would hate to hear that there's some kind of an emergency management degree graduate who doesn't know anything about preparedness, right? That would not make sense, or doesn't know anything about the weather, right? You got to have something, a little bit of, we're generalists, generally speaking. Right. Yes, there are, very specifics, but I think if you look at it from all threats, all hazards perspective, if you look at things from the sort of totality of populations that you need to be supporting and their unmet needs before, during, and after disasters, that's the kind of stuff I hope to hear. Now, I do also see, and you can look at the 32 core capabilities, for example. Those are certainly ways to easily describe it in the preparedness goals. I think too, the other thing is the way that there's collaborations between the public and private sectors, right? I think there's opportunities for us as the association, the IAEM-USA, to be a convener between these public sector and private sector and public sector groups. I think we're looking potentially as advocating as envoys for the public benefit. I got to tell you, something I enjoy doing as a board member. It nicely aligns with an emergency management intelligence perspective, which I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So leaving Nicole up there with SUNY Albany. I another full disclosure.
Thank you. That's the school that just got approved.
Yeah. But as a full disclosure, SUNY Albany. That is another place that was in my backyard when I moved from Buffalo to Albany, New York. I actually have some family members who graduated from SUNY Albany. So it's another place that has a big soft spot in my heart. Go Great Danes, and so I'll just say that right there.
Yeah. So I'll be reaching out to them, like I said, and saying, okay, student chapter, great. Here's the conference. Here's our stuff. Here's how you deal with the region. Here's the meetings and all that. But I'll also be saying, hey, let's see what we can do about moving you from, you're in a crawl mode, right? There's crawl, walk, run. You're in a crawl mode. You're just starting out. You got to figure out how many members, who's going to be the advisor, all that. But do you want to get to the next level? Do you want to start looking at our stuff and making sure, for example, like some of the other schools we've heard of, they have opportunities for their students to actually get incident action plan experience. Mm-hmm. So, if you can get yourself on an IAP as a freshman, sophomore, junior, you've got 3 years of experience in response. Guess what? That's a criteria for the CEM. And then if you can start to study towards your exam, you're set, whether you graduate or not, for the AEM or the CEM. But I mean, those are the kinds of things that we can build into conversations with student chapters to get them on a pathway to not only a degree, but also a credential.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh man. Well, we're coming here to the end, and I'm going to ask one more easy question for you. Where do you see the future of IAEM going?
That's great. Yeah, and I know we didn't really get to hit all the FIFA stuff. We could have spent an hour on that, right?
Oh, geez.
Threats and hazards.
I'm living FIFA right now, for sure. Yeah.
So, I think the easier answer for that is for folks to go back and look at some of our other conversations. Look back at IAEM Connect. Look at the couple of webinars that we did related to FIFA. We've done at least 2 of them, hosted and co-hosted. One on drones or UAS, and the other on public affairs, PIO. Your team out of your area, Todd, were very helpful on that one, for example. I think for the future vision for IAEM and the profession, one of the other things that we're looking at is we're looking at supporting an academic journal within the association, and that will be collaborative and coordinated with institutions for higher education. I can see us working and partnering with those schools that want to do this. It helps them because I'm sure in terms of our academic accreditation, having a journal or at least being part of a journal is a good thing for them. And then they would be able to provide students who would be putting articles out, as well as providing professors and instructors who'd be reviewing those articles. So sort of building it up as capacity. There's a definite connection between us, meaning the association, the IAEM-USA running a journal, and academia. There's a definite clear connection for that. I see us adding in, as I said before, training and exam prep. And I see us potentially strengthening our connections with both CASME, that's the Accreditation Association for Emergency Management and Homeland Security entities, as well as EMAP, the Emergency Management Accreditation Program, which, by the way, is my understanding, both together the IAEM-USA and MEMA created EMAP. So the idea that we, have a stronger position with the totality of accreditation, institutions of higher education, as well as EM programs. I really think we need to be involved in that. So it's the idea is that their emergency managers work in emergency management or organizations, and we should be involved in that sort of not necessarily has to be governance, but just oversight and or strategic planning. I also think that we are, as a matter of fact, as an association, the profession needs some servant leadership. And we are also subject matter experts to those legislators. And I think we're also a trusted partner to everyone across the full cycle.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you for your time today. And I look forward to talking to you again. And of course, we'll see everybody hopefully in Long Beach here and coming up in November. It sounds like it's a long time away, but it's really coming quick. And I know that Dwayne and the rest of the conference committee is doing an excellent job putting together good stuff, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there in Long Beach.
Yeah, come see us both. Todd, this is his home territory, but I'll be there too, and come meet us and greet us and ask us questions or whatever, and we'll be there, and Todd will be promoted to president at that point as the way we organize our structure, and it'll be a good time.
It will be a good time. And as always, stay safe and stay hydrated.
Coffee state badge on a lanyard string. Hotel ballroom, buzzing, fluorescent wings. Name tags, crooked inside jokes. We live on acronyms and conference notes. Late night panels, early flights, still swapping war stories under dim lights. If the world goes sideways, who they gonna call? The weirdos taking roll in the expo hall. IAEM Talks tonight.